Hi, this is Roger Smith of the True Blue Lounge. Today I'm going to talk to an ex-RAF military person, Joel Barnett. Joel, how you doing?
Hey Roger, I'm doing good, man. Not bad at
Good,
all.
good.
I'm giving thanks.
All right, so this is how this is going to work, Joel. I've known you for years, and I just feel that this is a nice opportunity as I've got this podcast to get to know Joel Barnett. So, hey, we've known each other. I probably have never asked you these questions, so let's go for it.
Okay, okay.
So, Joel, so where were you born?
Um, I was born in the little district of Wyethens, a place called Wyethens in Trelawney, Jamaica.
And name is it that's near Spaldings?
No, that's near the nearest big town to that is Christiana in
Chris.
Manchester.
Okay, okay. So you would approach it from the south, not the
Go
north.
from the south, yeah. Go from south up to to Christiana,
Wire fence.
then
Okay,
Wyeth,
okay.
then
Yeah.
Albertown, then
All right.
Albertown,
I've act-
Clarkstown, and
okay.
you
I've
go that
actually been to Wire fence. I really have.
Yes.
I've actually been to Wire
Well,
fence.
Wyethens is quite famous. It's quite famous for its yam, its yellow yam,
Okay. Dry yellow yam, afu yam, or
dry
just
yellow yam. That's
okay.
famous for that.
Nice, nice. So, so tell me some of the early experiences. Growing up in Jamaica. So what was school like?
Well, growing up in Jamaica, I didn't do a lot of growing up in Jamaica. I spent 8 years in Jamaica,
So you were at
then
primary
then
school there, yeah?
then
So,
moved away to England. But that those 8 years were was quite precious because back in the 50s there was a lot of movement of people from Jamaica to England to America and so on and looking a better life. So my parents left. My dad left Jamaica in 1956, and my mom left in 57 to come to England. So obviously, here I am, left with my grandmother to be looked
okay,
after, and grandmother, aunties, uncles, and so on. And it was fantastic. Those years was fantastic. It was fantastic. My
okay.
grandmother was somebody special, man. She looked after me like more better than her own, better than her own.
Wow. So what year did you get sent for, so to speak?
So yeah, they came to England 56, 57, and I came to England way back in 1960, 21st of June 1960.
Okay. How old were you
I
then?
was, I was 8 years old. I can remember it clearly.
Okay. So now, don't take this the wrong way. Was it by the boat or did you take a plane?
I came with BOAC, sir. I came
Okay.
with BOAC. It was a Comet,
Uh huh.
a Comet aircraft.
Okay. Nobody doesn't know. No one's gonna know what a comet is now.
Right,
So,
a Comet is one of the first jet aircraft, passenger jet airlines that British Airways had, or BOAC as they called it before British Airways.
okay, okay. And you traveled alone?
No, I traveled with my older sister. She's 9 years older than me, so she was the senior, and she
Okay,
looked after me. So we traveled together.
okay.
Uh, yeah.
So, what was it like coming to or going to England as an 8-year-old, going on an airplane, all of that? That must be a memorable kind of time. You can remember it like yesterday, no?
Yes, I can because I remember the day we were leaving my grandmother's house in Wirefence. A car came to pick us up, and I was dressed in a short short trousers and a shirt and jacket and a little felt hat. The felt hats they used to wear. I had all that on, man, looking like a gentleman, a young gentleman, And
What
my
is it
and
about
my
Jamaicans or is it Caribbean people that when we fly, we feel as though we have to be dressed to the
well,
nines,
well,
tie
I
and
think
shirt.
yes. I think back in the day, Jamaicans used to when they unless they're in the farm. unless they're working on the farm, you always see Jamaicans dressed nicely.
Wow.
Not like today where you see them walking around with the trousers down the backsides. Back in the day, those guys, it's the tie and the shirt and the trousers was well seamed and so on and so on. That's how it was.
So you went to Montego Bay Airport then?
No, I flew from Palisadoes, which is now Norman Manley in
Okay,
Kingston.
okay.
Yeah.
So that means, are you going to tell me there was no Montego? Maybe
Yes, Montego Bay was there.
was there. Okay.
But Kingston was the main airport. Montego Bay has just been developed over the past 30 years or so.
Right. Okay. Tell me whereabouts you were born, and how do you get there from when you go to either Montego Bay or Kingston? How do you get to your district?
Okay, so I was born in a little district called Wyefence in South Trelawney. So you're coming from Montego Bay, you come to Runaway Bay, you come to Clarkstown, you come to Albertown. The next place is Wyefence, going south to Christian and towards Kingston.
Okay, so what was school life in Jamaica, the early years? Do you remember that at all?
Yes, I can remember. I can remember going to school at. I think the first time was 4 years. I was 4 years old going to school, and that was a church school.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a church school. So
expensive school.
Very expensive. Yes. Yeah. Very basic. Just got the basics there, obviously, and then. I think at 7 years old, you went to the junior school or infant school, junior infant school. I went to a place called Wait a Bit School.
Wait a Bit.
Wait a Bit. Yes, that's a place. That's the name of a place called Wait a Bit. Yeah.
Wow. So you told me that you left Jamaica early. So what age did you leave Jamaica?
So I left Jamaica at 8 years old. At 8 years old, to come to England where my parents were residing.
Tell me what it was like as a little boy at 8, hearing that you're going to go to, you're going to England. What was that like?
Well, yeah. When I was told that I was going to see your mother and your father. Because I was staying with my grandmother at the time, because my parents both left Jamaica. My dad left in 1956, and my mom left in 1957. So I was staying with my grandmother, and she looked after me for those 4 years, from the age of 4 when my mom left till the age of 8, and I was told you're going to see your mother and father, and I was excited, man. I was excited about that, Oh, wow. Landing at Heathrow, I traveled with my elder sister from Jamaica to Heathrow. Landing at Heathrow, it was a shock to the system, to say the least, as a young kid coming from Jamaica, where everybody around you was black. And I landed at Heathrow and I saw all these white people walking around thinking, where am I? What's going on here? Who are all these people? So that was a bit of a shock to the system.
Wow. So tell me about early life in England.
Oh,
How
wow.
did you assimilate into school? Because, I remember what it was like when I went to school in England, in the 70s. And, probably there was 3 or 4 black kids in a school of 30. You know what I mean? So I can imagine what it was like where you were. So tell me what it was like.
Yeah, so I arrived, I arrived in 1960, in June 1960. So it was holiday time then, because they break up in July to September for holiday. So my first time at school was in September, starting a new year in the school with everybody else. It was a bit of a shock to the system, because I got to this school. The old schools in England used to be the old Victorian type school. You know, I got to this place and I'm looking around. I'm thinking, this is not like Jamaica. This it's not. There's no. It's all closed in. You know, and I'm thinking, there's nowhere to run around. There's no. There's no. You know, you can't roll up and down and things like that and get yourself dirty. You know.
What were the kids like, and that kind of assimilation?
Well, yeah. Going to that school, it's called Springfield Junior School in Sheffield. That's where I was.
Okay. Coal miners, Sheffield.
Coal miners, steel making
Steel,
Sheffield.
okay.
What do you steel and cutlery? That's what they used to be famous for.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to Springfield Junior School, and apart from me, there was 2 other black kids in that school.
Okay.
So
the whole
you know,
school.
in the old school, I'm the only boy, and there was 2 other girls, and there was 2 other girls there, and that was it. So it was hard. It was hard to settle in because there was no one I could. And I was in the class by myself. So can you imagine being in a class by yourself in a strange country, not even knowing the language properly? Because I'm still speaking patois from Jamaica. You know.
Yep.
And some of the things I was saying, they could understand me, and some of the things they were saying, I could understand them.
Right.
So it was difficult. It was difficult. But gradually, you know, over a period, a couple of months, you got used to it, you know, and settled in. I settled in.
Okay. So was there a lot of teasing? Were you big for your size? Were you small?
Oh my
Bullying?
Yeah, looking back on it, yes, there was a lot of teasing. There was a lot of teasing. It's not like now. Back then, it was quite. It was quite harsh. It was quite hard because you got called all the names, the niggers, the this, the that, the wogs, this and that. But so saying that, I didn't know what all these things meant. Right? I didn't know what they were. I didn't know what they meant. You know.
But you know what's funny about this though. You say you got teased. I went to school in Jamaica, and I would say I got teased, but not because I was that much different. But I just think kids are just evil. You know what I mean?
Right, you're correct. You're correct.
Yeah. So how did you cope? How did you cope with it? After a while, you realized what it was all about. What did you?
Yeah. After a while, you know, you latch onto a couple of other kids that talks to you and want to know about you. You know, and there's always the few that's there who's intent on causing problems. And want to pick fights and so on and so forth. But there's other guys there and other girls there who are just nice and just try to help you, you know, and wanted to know about you. But I can remember there's one particular guy in school. I'll never forget him. One particular guy at that school, that junior school, his name was Francis Pym. A bully, mouthy, and he was always picking on me. So one evening we decided, I'm tired of this boy. We're going to have a fight to sort it out. So finish school, you know, all the kids gather around. Hey, Pimmy and Joe's going to have a fight up lane there. You know, that's the Sheffield talk. You know,
up lane.
Yeah, up lane, yeah. So we gather in this lane, like, and this guy says, come on then. And I just look at him, and I just went, bam! One punch.
Just one punch. Just one it needed.
Before he could come to me, I got him first. One dick in him nose, bust up him nose, and that was it. That was it. The fight was over. Right?
That's the way it's
and
done.
From that day since, that guy never muttered another word to me.
Nice. And you probably didn't have to punch anyone else because they heard about you.
No, not at all.
So how did your parents take that, or they didn't know about it?
They didn't know nothing about it. I couldn't tell them, send me a fight at school.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
could, I could not go home and said I had a fight at school. I'd be in trouble, man. I'd get licks.
Wow. So, so with that said, because
Yeah.
I've always, I remember when I was young, I wanted to do electrical engineering, and I wanted the RAF was a way to go through,
Hmm.
and because I was in Jamaica and I was in the cadets, I knew this whole bossing around and marching me up and down and telling me what to do. Some people have that level of discipline. I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
get in trouble too much. I'm not that guy, yeah. But it takes a special person. So, what made that experience allow you to go into the RAF, which, from my small understanding, made me feel as though that environment was just as bad as the one that your early school, the only black guy. Because, when you went in the RAF regiment, tell us what that was like.
Okay. So yeah. So leaving school, I, 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 I enjoyed school. I enjoyed school, the senior school that I went to. I played a lot of sport. I played cricket, basketball, football. I did all this stuff there,
Did you
right?
excel it? Did you excel in them? Were you like a
Yeah,
better than average?
I excelled in cricket at school. Um, Basketball, I played well. Yeah, but cricket was my main thing when I was younger,
And cricket's
right? So
big in England.
yes, I did excel in that. I played for school, then I played for the college.
Okay.
Um, then through that, I carried on playing years later in the Air Force and so on. Yeah, so leaving school, um, back in the day, you used to get what they used to call them uh, when you go to the teachers and they give you a
Like
trade.
career advisement.
Yeah, career advisor. That's the word I'm looking for. Career advisor. So we had this career advisor at school, and I wanted to be an electrician. Okay. For some reason, I just fancied doing that, and that's what I wanted to do. And I went to see this careers information guy, and he says, "Well, I don't think that's a good enough job. I don't think you can cope with that job. I think you should be a bricklayer." I looked at this guy, and yeah, he said, "I think you should be a bricklayer." And I looked at him. I think, I don't want to be a bricklayer. I want to be an electrician.
Before you go on, because people in the US probably don't know what a bricklayer is, so
Okay,
just working on a building site.
right. But working in the building site. Yeah, do it. Yeah, that's it. Working in the building site.
Go ahead.
And I
Sorry.
didn't want to do that. I wanted to be a technical guy. I want to be an electrician. I wanted to do the wiring and all the rest of it, the lights and everything. And this guy said, "I think you should be a bricklayer. I think you should work on the building site." And I looked at him and I thought, I ain't doing that. So I walked out and I left the school and I applied for jobs myself. Okay. I applied for a job myself. And the first one I applied for to be an electrician, the guy says, "Well, we're taking 10 apprentices in and you're the 11th. If one drops out, you can get the job." So I'm on tenterhooks, leaving school in the July, all that period of holiday up to September. The apprenticeship starts at 4th of September, and here I'm waiting. The 2nd of September, I get a call at home saying, "Are you still interested in the apprenticeship?" I said, "Yes, I am." So I started my apprenticeship on the 4th of September, 1967.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, how did the RAF come about?
Okay. Yeah. So doing the
So
apprenticeship,
this was an early job. So you started off as an
this
I didn't
that
know
was my
that,
very first job. That was my
as an
very first job.
electrician.
Yeah,
So
as
what
an
we're talking
electrician.
about, electrician. You see, you're talking about house electricity.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Factories, houses,
So you're
hospitals. I used to
stripping
do all that.
cables, wiring
Yep.
up, running wire, running cables.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay.
So yeah, I used to do a lot of that, and we used to do a lot of factories and so on. And then one time I was out there, and it was so cold, man. I'm bending conduits and dragging wires, and I'm thinking, man, this is too cold. I don't like this job anymore. I want to do something different. And I thought, what could I do? That just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me because I'm coming home from work, muddy, dirty, cold, and I'm thinking, no, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So one day I was walking around town with my cousin, and we were walking past the RAF information office. And just for a laugh, I said to him, hey, how would you fancy going in there and just asking some questions and see what they're doing? So that's how it came about me joining the Air Force. Wow. I went into this place, asked what was going on. They gave me all this information and told me that you could travel and so on and so on. And you could get different jobs. You could do this and you could do, and I opened my eyes and my ears was pricked, right? I was fascinated. I was fascinated hearing all this, that you could travel, go different places. And I thought, okay.
So what was that like when you finally decided to join? What was it? How did you get acclimatized? What were the other soldiers like? How long did you stay there?
Okay, so I joined the Air Force I went into the Air Force on the 1st of January, 1970, way back. Leaving my mom's home, getting on the train in Sheffield and traveling to Lincoln, to a place called RAF Swindon. That's where the basic training, you get basic training for all RAF people. And traveling down on the train from Sheffield to Lincoln, there was one other guy that was going the same direction as me and going to the same place. So we just clicked and we started talking and we ended up at the same place, in the same, doing the same thing. And we became friends from that. So the Air Force was the thing for me at that time,
So was it hard to get acclimatized? I mean, wasn't there a lot of bullying in that? Because I always thought that's what it was all about.
No, a lot of people think there's a lot of well, back then there wasn't, as far as I'm concerned, but then again, I've got to say that back then there wasn't a lot of black people in the Air Force, right? There wasn't a lot. So when I went to my basic training, marching up and down, learning to shoot a rifle, listening to people shouting at you and screaming at you, and you've got to obey orders and so on and so on. There weren't a lot of guys around. There weren't a lot of us around. So there was a couple. I think I was the only one in my group. I knew of 3 other guys that was there that joined just before me, 2 weeks before me, and we kept in touch. But it was okay. It was okay. It was a good grounding. It was a good grounding. The shouting and the swinging of arms and all the rest of it, the shouting from the sergeants and the rest of it, the corporals, it was just a matter of for you to take orders, be able to take orders, right? Because later on, in situations where you need to take orders, you've got to be able to do it.
So what was the practical work, so you were able to meander into the electrical work that you wanted to do while you were in the RAF?
Yes. So joining the Air Force, I went in as an aircraft technician, as an aircraft electrician, as that. So I did aircraft electrical work and instrument work. That was my trade in the Air Force. I was an aircraft technician.
Okay, cool. So now I know a little bit about your career. So how long did you stay in the RAF for?
Oh, I did 14, just over 14 years in the Air Force.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, you may say it's a long time, but that's average. That's average. Most guys, they go in there and they do. If you want a career, if you want to be a career man, most guys stay in there for 22 years and get a pension at the end of that.
Wow.
So
you don't strike me as that guy that you know, a lot of military people, when they have kids, they march them up and down. You could tell from their kids that their dad was in the military. You
Yep,
know,
yep.
shoes shine, shirt always tucked in and everything, you know.
Well, Roger, that's part of the discipline, right? Because when you go in there, you've got to be able to be smart. Your clothes has got to be, your trousers have got to be ironed properly. Your shirts have got to be ironed properly and folded a certain way, and so on and so on. So that's part of the discipline.
So when you find a good woman in your life, how is she gonna press your shirt for you? As good as you'd press it yourself, because no, you're a military man. You've been pressing it from your, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, let me tell you this. It's difficult. It's difficult because I have a certain way of pressing and folding my shirts. Nobody else can do it. No, but my wife cannot do it now. If I'm not hanging them up, I'm folding them, and I've got a special way of folding them that nobody else can do.
Okay. Okay. Nice. So, Joel, tell me. Let's pivot a little bit. Let me find out a little bit about you. So, are you religious, and how does religion help you in your life?
I wouldn't say I'm right. Religion is a big word. It splits into different categories. So I wouldn't say I'm religious. I believe in a creator, and I believe that there's a heaven and a hell. So I have faith in certain things, but not in religion as such. Not really. There's too much religion that's causing problems, right?
Would you call yourself a Christian?
Yes, because I believe in the threesome, as you can say. So believing in Jesus Christ, yes, I do. I would say that.
All right, and it helps you. I mean, you're a praying man, yeah?
Yes, I find it helps me sometimes when you feel a bit down, and you can always utter a few words, and there's a little bit of relief there. There's a little bit of relief. I've got to say that. I've proved that.
Okay. Burial or cremation?
I think burial.
Have you seen the state of cemeteries in Jamaica? There's no space anymore. Did you realize?
That's correct. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now that shouldn't be going on, and that's why there's no space.
So what is it? Is it? Do you think it's just something carried over from our foreparents?
I think that's what
burial
it is.
thing, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think back in the day there was a fear of damnation. It's you get burned up, you go to hell, and all that kind of thing. So I think that's where it stems from.
When we die, what do you think happens to us?
Well, the body itself returns to the dust from where we came, but I think the soul lives on. I think the soul lives on, but the body, this temporal thing that's here, it doesn't matter where it goes or what happens to it, because it's nothing in the end.
So, Joel, tell me about a job that you've done that you really didn't like.
I haven't had many jobs in my few years of living. I think I can go back to that early one, the electrical contracting. Due to the I think the weather and the climate and everything, and the filthiness of it, I think that was the worst thing I did.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had jobs that have been on rooftops because I had to climb. Being in telecoms, the antennas are on the roof and stuff. Or I have to climb towers, and sometimes your fingers are so cold.
Yes.
You can't feel anything. Sometimes, yeah. Okay. So, Joel, when you think about the future, are you hopeful?
Yes, I am hopeful. Although we've got a load of nonsense going on in the world with the different politics and the wars we've got, but I'm still hopeful because it's been like that for since mankind, since we started.
Yeah,
You know, I don't see any. There's no changes, so we're still here. We're still hopeful of carrying on for a little bit longer.
I think no one realizes that today we're doing much better than we were doing for so long.
Yes.
There's never been a better time for us. And when I say us, I mean for mankind.
Yeah, for mankind. Yeah.
The problem is we want change too quickly. You know what I mean?
Everything must be now. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
The other question I wanted to ask you is, when you think of your life, is there, if you could go back and tell yourself, the 18-year-old Joel, something, what would you tell him?
What would I tell myself when I was younger?
If you could go back.
If I could go back, I would have learned more about money, about investments, and learn another language. That's what I would like to do.
But you'd be foreign talking, rich and unhappy. Look at you now.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. So that's a funny one. I think the investment one is one that we all wish we could have learned from. But you know what's really funny? Even knowing what you know, if you can impart that to even your son, they're not listening to you. They want to learn themselves.
Exactly. I've tried, but it just seems like it goes over in one ear out of the other side.
That's right.
You know?
Right. Yep.
But
so, how do you manage your mental health now?
my mental health, I don't tend to worry about things too much. I hear a lot of people going, I can't do this, and I'm upset about that, and I'm upset. I just tend to let things wash over me. I don't panic. I tend to keep calm about things, right? A lot of time, my wife will be saying to me, "How come you never worry about certain?" Well, I'm worried. I'm constant. No, it doesn't worry me. It worries me, but I don't make it an issue.
Right. I was just about to say to you, it's easy when you take it easy, but when you have a spouse that's a warrior, and they try and make everything, you have to deal with it the way they want you to deal with it.
Right, that's it. Yeah. I don't make an issue out of things. I just tend to let it ride, and it works itself out. Or if I can do something about it, I will try and do it. You know.
What do you enjoy doing now?
What do I enjoy doing now? I love to sit down and watch sports. I play sports, but I'm not injured.
Okay.
But I'm not injured.
Still badminton, yeah? Is it badminton?
I play a lot of badminton. I play competitive badminton even at my age.
Okay.
Still.
Okay.
Yeah, I still cope with the younger guys. I'm still doing, yeah.
So, have you had your hip replaced yet? No.
Not my hip, but I've had partial knee done. I've had a partial knee replacement. Yeah.
You keep it up. You'll have both hips done, both knees done. You'll be feeling perfect.
I'll be like bionic man,
eh? Yeah. It's nice. So what would you say you were passionate about?
I'm passionate about family and friends.
Okay, that's good.
Right?
That's good.
I like to keep in touch with my family. I like to keep in touch with my friends. Right? I've had friends over 50 years, and we still keep in touch. In fact, some of the guys that I went to school with, I was talking earlier about the guys at school. I'm still in touch with some of those guys now that I used to go to school with.
In England?
In England.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
And we let me say 20 years ago, it was somebody's 50th birthday. And I was invited, and I went to see these guys after 30 years.
Nice.
And we met up, and it was great. So they keep inviting me back to England to say, come, let me know when you're coming to England, and we'll all get together and we'll have a bash.
Wow.
So that's good. That in that case, I like to keep in touch with people.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar. I've got about probably 8 to 10 friends. And when I say friends, I mean people I know from primary school in Jamaica. 8 years old, that kind of age, So cool. I when I think about the way the world is going, I always wonder to myself, as I get older, I'm being more of a thinker, and I'm wondering, am I thinking too much? As you get older, because you've got more time behind you than ahead of you, you
Yes.
wonder, am I taking on too much? Am I just thinking about this too much, or should I just relax and let it go? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You let it
Do you ever
wash
have
over
that
you.
feeling
Yeah.
that you
Sometimes.
feel as though, oh, what am I worrying about? It's like the elections are going on, whether it's blue or red.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
My
Exactly.
my back is aching me whether the blue win or the red win.
Well, it's still gonna ache. It's still gonna
Yeah,
ache. Yeah. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Cool. So hey, Joel, I'm really glad that you took the time to spend with me. I'm gonna try my best to do this editing, and hopefully everything works out all right. See if I
Okay.
can get a good um, program out of it. But thanks again for taking the time out of your busy schedule, man.
No problem.
All
It's
right,
it's always busy. In fact, today I had my granddaughter with me, so she kept me busy today as well.
all right, nice,
She's no problem. She's great. She's a lovely child. Lovely child.
cool.
Call her my heartbeat.
All right, nice. All right, Joel. Thank you very much for that, man.
Okay, Roger. Take care.
All right.
Thanks.